The story begins with our MC, Kufa Vampire, carrying out an infiltration mission on a noble's home, when he suddenly gets ambushed by a group of guys wearing cloaks. They fire a bullet straight at him, but Kufa casually slices it in half like it's nothing, then proceeds to single-handedly wipe the floor with the rest of them. With the cloaked goons taken care of, only their leader remains. For some reason, this guy looks like he wrapped himself in toilet paper before coming to the fight. The two clash, and Kufa is immediately shocked. This guy is way stronger than the disposable bots he just took down. They trade blows for a while and seem evenly matched, until Kufa's boss jumps in and fires a bullet at the toilet paper man. He manages to block it, but the momentary distraction is all he needs. He smashes through a window and escapes. Kufa thinks about chasing him, but his boss tells him to stand down. It's not worth it. Apparently, they have bigger things to worry about. Their real goal was to infiltrate the building and question Lord Elsnes about the daughter of a famous Night Duke named Melida. Unfortunately, when they arrive, they find out those bastards already killed him. Lady Melida is supposed to be a member of the renowned Angel family, a bloodline famous for producing people with absurdly powerful magic. The problem is that Melida can't cast even the simplest spell. Worse, she can't use mana at all. That raises a massive red flag. They begin to suspect that Melida might not be the biological daughter of the Angel family, and that Lord Elsnes may have had an affair with Melida's mother. To uncover the truth, Kufa's boss assigns him a new mission: infiltrate the household as Melida's private tutor and train her into a proper warrior maiden. Basically turn her into a certified badass. Kufa heads to the Angel family mansion, where he finds Melida standing on a balcony, casually aura farming without a care in the world. She suddenly loses her footing and falls off, but Kufa swoops in at the last second and saves her like a knight straight out of a fairy tale. While holding her in his arms, he tells her that he will be her magic tutor for the next 3 years. Melida introduces herself and cheerfully says she's looking forward to the lessons, completely unaware of how cursed her situation actually is. Later, they head to the academy, where Melida immediately becomes the target of bullying from the class bully, Nerva. Nerva mocks her relentlessly, pointing out how she comes from the legendary Angel family but still can't use mana. For context, mana is a special power that grants superhuman abilities and all kinds of weird talents to its users. Melida challenges Nerva to a sparring match. As Kufa watches, he notices that Melida's sword form is actually perfect. Her technique is flawless. Unfortunately, just like the rumors say, she can't use mana. Nerva easily overwhelms her with a mana-enhanced sword and knocks her to the ground. As Melida lies there defeated, the other girls pile on, roasting her non-stop and calling her a worthless failure who disgraces her family name. Humiliated, Melida runs away. Elise, the class prodigy, chases after her to offer comfort. She genuinely means well, but Melida is too embarrassed and angry to hear it. She snaps, tells Elise to stay the hell away from her, and runs off again. Elise can't help but still feel awful about it. Kufa bumps into Melida afterward and quietly concludes that maybe the rumors are true. Maybe Melida really is a failure after all. That night, Kufa reflects on everything that's happened. After carefully thinking it through, he reaches a conclusion. Melida is not the biological daughter of Felis Angel. With that confirmed, he prepares to carry out the second phase of his mission. He is supposed to assassinate Melida. After spending the day with her and seeing how miserable her life is, he convinces himself that killing her would actually be doing her a favor. He goes to her room to do the deed, but something feels off. He can't sense her presence. When he enters, the room is empty and the window is wide open, suggesting she climbed out. Meanwhile, Melida is in a dark alley, being chased by some kind of shadowy creature. Kufa goes full Parker mode to catch up, but by the time he arrives, it's already too late. Melida is surrounded and being attacked by a group of lycanthropes. Kufa assumes this is her grandfather's doing, forcing her into a life or death situation to try and awaken her mana. Unfortunately, the plan is clearly not working because she's getting absolutely destroyed. As Kufa watches from a distance, he wonders why she doesn't call for help and instead keeps taking the beating in silence. Then one of the lycanthropes grabs Melida by the hair and threatens to cut it off. She immediately breaks down in tears. Her hair is the last thing she has left from her mother, and losing it would mean losing her final connection to her. At that moment, Kufa finally understands. Melida refuses to call for help because that would expose the truth. Everyone would find out she has no mana, and it would be the same as admitting she isn't really part of the Angel family. Just as Melida is about to accept her fate, Kufa finally steps in. He pulls out his phantom blade and slices through the lycanthropes in record time. Turning to Melida, he tells her that he's seen how much hell she's been through and how desperately she wants to be acknowledged. He asks her to entrust him with her life. He then explains that he knows a way to awaken her mana, but it's a long shot. It might not work at all, and there's a real chance it could even kill her. Melida decides that a life without mana isn't worth living anyway, so she agrees. Cufa pulls out a bottle, drinks from it, then uses it as an excuse to kiss her while pouring the liquid into her mouth. Almost immediately afterward, Melida faints and collapses to the ground. The next day, Melida wakes up in her bedroom and immediately notices Cufa touching her butt. Naturally, she freaks out, but Cufa quickly tells her not to get the wrong idea. He explains that this is a very necessary checkup. It turns out that the stuff he poured into her mouth the previous night was a drug, and it successfully granted her the ability to use mana. However, Cufa also notices that she has developed some physical abnormalities as a result of the sudden activation, so he needs to continue examining her. He instructs her to lie face up this time and begins carefully checking her body. Melida, still uneasy, asks how he isn't blushing at all, despite touching her everywhere. Cufa admits that he is indeed embarrassed, but he's trained himself not to show it under any circumstance. With that in mind, Melida wonders why he would go through all this trouble for someone he barely knows and just met. Cufa tells her that it might sound strange, but he actually cares about her, even though they've only just met. Whenever he thinks about the possibility that the drug he gave her could have killed her, he is filled with so much dread that he can't even sleep. Right now, the only thing he wishes for is for Melida to stay healthy and regain her spark. Hearing this, Melida begins to realize that Cufa has no bad intentions toward her. She then removes her hands from her chest and tells him that he can feel her chest if he really needs to. Cufa is glad to see that she trusts him. Moving on, he mentions to her that the class she attained after taking the drug wasn't the paladin class she wanted. Instead, she ended up in the samurai class, which happens to be the same class Cufa belongs to. Even though Melida didn't get the class she hoped for, she is still grateful just to be able to use mana at all. She's happy to share the same class as Cufa. Cufa is pleased that she's okay with it, but he advises her to keep this entire thing a secret from others. Melida wonders why he would suggest that, and Cufa explains that given her position, if the news came out, some people might spread bad rumors about her. Above all, Cufa wants Melida to create a legacy that truly befits the Angel family name. After giving her the all clear and confirming that her body is perfectly fine and has fully adjusted to mana, Melida gets excited. She's no longer different from the other girls and can finally show off her abilities. Her excitement is short-lived. However, because Cufa immediately bursts her bubble, he tells her that she cannot show off her mana to anyone yet. The only time she's allowed to demonstrate her power is during the public tournament. The next day at school, Melida is quietly minding her own business when the class bully, Nerva, suddenly shows up and starts messing with her. She steals Melida's book, mocks her as a talentless girl, and walks off. Cufa eavesdrops on the entire incident and can't help but feel bad for Melida, especially now that she can actually use mana. Later, Melida meets up with Cufa and asks why she isn't allowed to show off her mana. Cufa explains that because she only just awakened it, her control is still most likely imperfect. The tournament is just a week away, so Cufa advises her to keep giving her friends the wrong impression about her abilities for now. He figures that showing off her new mana during the tournament would be the best way for her to gain aura and make a strong impression. While they are talking, Cufa senses someone spying on them and calls them out. It turns out to be Elise and her tutor, Rossetti. Rossetti is basically a celebrity in this area. She's so popular because, despite being born in the lower social stratum, she awakened her mana at a very young age and went on to become the youngest person ever to join the Crest Legion. Rossetti has also heard a lot about Cufa and knows that he's a very talented samurai. Since they are both private tutors employed by the Angel family, she suggests that they should try to get along with each other. She casually offers him a handshake, clearly expecting him to accept it. Instead, Cufa immediately slaps her hand away and bluntly tells her that he simply can't get along with her. He goes on to say that a girl like her would only be a bad influence on Melida's education. As expected, Rossetti takes great offense to this. She angrily tells Cufa that she'll make sure Elise absolutely destroys Melida during their match at the tournament. After delivering her threat, she storms off in a huff. The day of the tournament finally arrives, and Melida suddenly gets cold feet. She starts feeling nervous and unsure of herself. But Kyufa tells her to calm down and just do her best. He reassures her and tells her that everything will be fine as long as she keeps her head clear. He then tells her it's time to head to the stands. But before they can leave, Nerva and her lackeys show up to torment Melida as usual. Nerva mocks her, asking how it feels knowing she's about to embarrass her entire family in front of everyone. At this point, Kyufa finally decides he's had enough. He steps in and tells Nerva to shut her mouth before he gets mad. Seeing this, Nerva immediately starts roasting Kyufa instead, calling him a sad sack tutor who's just trying way too hard to crack Melida. Suddenly, Melida snaps. She slaps Nerva straight across the face and tells her to never speak about Kyufa that way again, declaring that he's the best tutor in the entire world. Nerva and her lackeys walk off in shock, but Melida immediately starts cowering in fear as she realizes what she just did. Watching this, Kyufa comes to an important realization. Melida is the type of person who finds strength not for her own sake, but for the sake of others. After that, Kyufa heads into the stands to watch the tournament. Judging by the dirty and hostile look Melida's father gives him, Kyufa becomes fully convinced that the outcome of this tournament will determine whether both he and Melida live or die. The match begins. Melida's teammates tell her to hang back while they handle everything, assuming that she's basically going to be helpless. Ignoring them, Melida immediately takes the lead and charges straight toward Nerva. Nerva notices this and gets extremely cocky, fully convinced that Melida is an easy target. She launches a massive attack using her big spear, but at the very last second, Melida summons her mana and blocks the attack. Neither Nerva nor the crowd can believe what they're seeing. This is exactly what Kyufa wanted to have Melida shock everyone with her power, so he simply smiles, realizing she's gained maximum aura. Nerva slowly gets back up and tells Melida not to get so full of herself, claiming that all she's learned to do is use mana. Even so, Melida proceeds to slam Nerva straight into the wall. This completely enrages Nerva, so she summons all of her mana and unleashes her Garrick Hammer attack. The impact causes a massive explosion and leaves behind a huge crater in the ground. When the smoke finally clears, Nerva sees Melida sitting on the floor and assumes she's ready to give up. As she walks toward her, she tells Melida to surrender so she can spare her any more suffering. Just as Nerva is about to deliver a heavy finishing blow, Melida suddenly summons her mana again and launches a counterattack, even appearing to gain the upper hand. Melida charges forward, ready to deliver the final blow, but at the last second she completely runs out of mana and her sword goes flying. This gives Nerva the opportunity to regain the upper hand, and she brutally beats Melida to the ground. Right before delivering the final blow, Nerva flashes back to the time when she was actually kind to Melida. Before everyone started talking badly about her, she blames Melida for everything, thinking that if Melida had just stayed weak and pitiful, none of this would be happening. As she prepares to strike her down, Melida suddenly awakens her mana once again and copies Kyufa's Phantom Blade technique. Wiping Nerva into next week, Kyufa watches in disbelief, wondering how Melida was able to pull off his move, before realizing that she must have secretly trained it until she fully mastered it. The other opponents in the tournament rush in and prepare to attack Melida, but Melida's teammates finally arrive to defend her. This gives Melida the opening she needs to capture the flag and win the match. After the match, she links up with Kyufa, who lifts her into the air after seeing the incredible performance she put on. Her father walks past them, completely unimpressed, and tells Melida not to get carried away by a single victory. He adds that the only thing that would truly impress him is if she emerged victorious in a match against another school. After he leaves, Melida feels discouraged and sad, but Kyufa reassures her, telling her that this is only the beginning. Suddenly, Nerva runs up to Melida, but this time she doesn't try to bully her. Instead, she quietly returns the book she stole earlier and runs off without another word. It seems that beating her up earned Melida the respect she deserved. Meanwhile, the next battle has already begun, and Elise is completely stealing the show. She shows off her great power as a paladin and manages to end her match in just 13 seconds, setting a brand new world record. The next day, Melida tells Kyufa about the Circlet Night Festival, which is a festival held to wish peace upon the city. The event is scheduled to take place over the weekend, so Melida asks Kyufa if he's excited about it. Kyufa, however, reacts in a completely nonchalant way, showing little to no interest. This upsets Melida quite a bit. She points out that he has literally stripped her naked and knows her inside and out, yet she barely knows anything about him as a person. Hearing this, Kyufa finally opens up. He explains that he doesn't know much about festivals because he grew up in the trenches, an area known as the lower social stratum living quarters. That part of town wasn't exactly the place for celebrations and happy memories. Putting that aside, Cufa notices a dress Melida is holding and asks her what it's for. Melida explains that it's the dress she plans to wear during the festival's parade. Cufa bluntly tells her that she would look really hot in it and asks her to try it on for him. Melida gets shy and refuses, saying she can't do that. She explains that she always planned to put on that dress for the first time together with Elise, and she doesn't want to ruin that moment. Cufa doesn't have a problem with that at all and says it actually sounds like a good idea. After that, Melida becomes a little embarrassed and hesitantly asks Cufa if he would dance with her during the festival parade. Cufa tells her that he won't be able to because he has a mission to take care of in the Holy Monarch district. However, he promises that he'll be back on the final day of the festival and assures her that he'll dance with her then. Hearing this makes Melida genuinely happy. Meanwhile, Elise is busy being praised by an old hag who keeps pouring her tea while glazing her non-stop over her performance at the tournament. Despite all the praise, the old woman warns Elise not to go easy on Melida if they ever cross paths again. She says that maintaining that kind of ruthless reputation is important. Elise listens, but the words clearly weigh on her. The night of the festival finally arrives, and Melida looks absolutely stunning in her dress. She manages to grab everyone's attention for about 5 seconds before Elise arrives in a full Cinderella-style dress and completely steals the spotlight. The crowd showers Elise with praise for how beautiful she looks, but Elise herself doesn't seem happy at all. Overwhelmed, she suddenly runs off in tears. Melida immediately chases after her like a true friend. She finds Elise crying, but before she can say anything, they are suddenly surrounded by bandits led by a man who looks like he's wrapped in toilet paper. Before Melida can fully react, everything goes black. She wakes up in a dark room and sees the same strange man standing in front of her. He explains that he is a failed laboratory experiment turned into a half-human, half-lycanthrope. He reveals that he watched Melida's performance during the tournament and was deeply impressed. However, he dislikes the fact that she is a samurai class instead of a paladin. Because of that, he plans to forcibly mutate her class into a paladin and use Elise as a sacrifice to complete the ritual. The problem is that the ritual is extremely unstable, meaning Melida would most likely end up as some kind of horrific mutant rather than a proper paladin. The lycanthropes drag Elise into the room, and she's so terrified that she completely breaks down in tears. Seeing this, Melida finally makes up her mind. She's done being the one who always gets saved by Elise. This time, she wants to be the one doing the saving. Melida looks around and realizes they're inside a museum. She runs over to a massive dinosaur skeleton and starts attacking it with everything she's got. The bandit leader assumes she's trying to make noise so someone will come save her. Instead, Melida actually manages to knock the dinosaur skeleton over, crushing several lycanthropes underneath it. This gives her the perfect opportunity to grab Elise and make a run for it. They escape into the building's lobby, where Melida spots a map showing the location of the exit. She also notices a collection of weapons nearby and assumes they could use them to defend themselves. However, when she examines them more closely, she realizes there's no magical presence in any of them, meaning they're completely useless against lycanthropes. Only weapons of divine nature can harm lycanthropes. Thinking quickly, Melida tears pieces from Elise's outfit and uses them to craft a small makeshift divine sword, one that should actually be capable of taking down the lycanthropes chasing them. But before Melida even gets the chance to properly use the weapon she just made, one of the lycanthropes suddenly smacks her away and sends her flying across the room. As it looms over her, preparing to deal the final blow, Melida desperately summons her mana. The mana surges through the sword, lighting it on fire, and she immediately jams the flaming blade straight into the lycanthrope's mouth. At the same time, another lycanthrope moves in to attack Elise, so Melida swings her burning sword again and sets that one ablaze as well. Both lycanthropes burn to the ground, giving Melida and Elise the perfect chance to make a run for the exit. They can clearly see the exit ahead of them, but just as they're about to escape, the leader of the lycanthropes suddenly appears out of nowhere and blocks their path. Melida tries to attack him with her weapon, but he casually catches the sword with one hand, extinguishes the flames, and kicks her away like she weighs nothing. Elise rushes to check on Melida, but the leader simply smacks her aside as well. He slowly walks toward them, calmly telling them not to bother putting up a fight because they don't stand a chance of beating him. Suddenly, he freezes in shock as he he senses something unexpected. Both girls possess an incredibly intense power within them. Because of this, he decides it's better to dispose of them right here and now. After all, they weren't likely to survive the ritual anyway, so he can just make up an excuse to report back to his boss. Just as he's about to begin, help finally arrives. Out of nowhere, Rossetti and Cufa show up. Cufa had received a message from the guild about Melida and Elise's disappearance and immediately began tracking them down, which led him straight here. Cufa doesn't waste a second. He kicks things off by using his phantom blade to slice through the first wave of lycanthropes with ease. He then tags Rossetti in, who follows up by unleashing her Scarlet Phoenix technique and completely incinerates the remaining enemies. Cufa tells Rossetti to stay behind and keep an eye on the girls while he goes deeper into the building to deal with the leader himself. He heads into the heart of the structure and finally comes face to face with him. After exchanging words, Cufa learns the truth. Lord Mordru, Melida's own grandfather, was the one who orchestrated this entire operation. The leader reveals that he and Cufa have fought before, and he knows full well that Cufa is on an entirely different level of strength. Despite that, he doesn't look even slightly panicked. Instead, he smashes open a glass container and reveals a strange, pulsating heart beating in his hands. He injects it with an unknown chemical, causing it to transform into a massive monster known as the Haunted Chimera. Cufa immediately launches his attack, using his incredible combat skills and phantom blade techniques to dominate the fight. The leader can hardly believe what he's seeing. However, Cufa gets a bit too confident and lets his guard down for just a moment. That mistake gives the leader an opening. Using his strange toilet paper-like bindings, he restrains Cufa and blocks him from using his mana. With Cufa immobilized, the Chimera lands a devastating blow that tears his arm clean off. Seeing this, the leader assumes the fight is over and turns to leave. Before he can take another step, he senses a sudden surge of energy. The Chimera is attacked once more. To his shock, Cufa is still fighting. Even while restrained, he managed to use his mana. That said, his arm is still gone, and he's clearly weakened, blood dripping from the empty socket as he staggers forward. As Cufa walks toward him, the leader asks if risking his life for a little brat like Melida is really worth it. Cufa answers without hesitation. He says it's absolutely worth it because he knows Melida will someday surpass them all and become a legendary warrior. He's willing to risk his own life to ensure her survival. Suddenly, the Chimera swallows Cufa whole. The leader believes it's finally over and starts to walk away. But just then, Cufa bursts out from inside the Chimera, having destroyed it from the inside. The leader is completely stunned. That beast had fully maxed out stats. There's no way a human should be able to rival it. Cufa then finishes the Chimera off with a single, decisive blow. At that moment, Cufa unleashes his true form. His hair turns white and begins to flow freely as his power surges. He calmly walks over to his severed arm and reattaches it like a Lego piece. The leader finally understands what he's witnessing. This is the power of a vampire. Vampires are the strongest type of lycanthrope, so he can't help but wonder what one is doing in a place like this. Cufa pins the leader against the wall and tells him not to worry, he isn't going to kill him. Cufa reminds the man that right before he attempted to mutate Melida's class, she had already shown clear attributes of a paladin, which only further proves that she is a true descendant of the Night Duke house. That alone confirms her legitimacy. He tells the leader to pass a message to his boss and make sure he understands it clearly. If they ever try pulling this kind of stunt again, he will not be nearly as merciful next time. Cufa then turns and starts walking away, completely unconcerned. However, the leader speaks up before he can leave. He says that through this incident, he has now confirmed Melida's true potential. He warns Cufa that if he continues helping her grow and eventually reach that potential, there may come a day when Cufa himself becomes the one being hunted. Cufa doesn't even slow his pace or turn around. He simply responds that such a future will never come to pass. Elsewhere, Cufa's superior senses that something is off. He can tell that Cufa is hiding something significant, and that recent events are not as simple as they appear. Because of this, he contracts Black Media and orders her to investigate Cufa and uncover whatever secret he may be concealing. Later that night, Cufa reunites with Melida at the festival. The chaos has passed, the danger is gone for now, and the city is once again filled with lights and music. The two of them finally prepare to share the dance they had talked about earlier. However, just before they begin, Melida suddenly becomes overwhelmed with emotion. She gathers her courage and confesses her feelings to Cufa, telling him that she loves him. She acknowledges that she is still a minor and that it wouldn't wouldn't be allowed for them to be together yet, which is why she asks him to wait for her until the time is right. Kyufa listens quietly and then agrees to her request without hesitation. With that settled, the two of them begin to dance together under the festival lights, bringing the night to a gentle close. The next scene opens with Elise trapped inside a dream. She sees a memory from her childhood, back when she was wandering through the forest alone and suddenly ran into a pack of wolves. She was moments away from being torn apart when young Melida appeared out of nowhere and saved her. That moment became one of Elise's strongest core memories, the last truly vivid one she shared with Melida. Elise then wakes up from her coma and realizes it was only a dream, forcing her to confront the painful reality of the present. The next day at school, Elise clings tightly to Melida and refuses to leave her side, following her everywhere she goes. At the same time, Rose does something similar with Kyufa, sticking close to him, but Kyufa immediately tells her to back off. He reminds her that they are not tight like that and that their relationship is strictly professional. Their job is to train the girls and protect their interests at all costs, nothing more. On top of that, he points out that her head maid already doesn't like him, so the two of them getting along openly would only irritate her even more. Later that day, all the students gather in the hall for a major announcement: the selection of this year's cadets. President Krista and Queen Shenfa are clearly fan favorites among the students. Being chosen as a cadet is a huge honor, reserved only for the most outstanding students with the highest grades, so the atmosphere is filled with excitement and anticipation. The headmistress arrives and formally announces the commencement of the ceremony. As she explains the details, Kyufa realizes that 2 students will be selected from each school, making a total of 4 cadets. She further explains that during the week-long period in which the ceremony and trials will take place, all contact with the outside world will be completely cut off. The cadet trials will conclude on the final day of the tournament, though the results of those trials alone will not determine the final outcome. Over the course of 7 days, the selected cadets will undergo intense training, and based on their performance as well as votes from others, one of them will be granted the honorable title of Luna Lumiere. The headmistress also emphasizes that no one is allowed access to the palace without proper authorization. Even if someone claims they have business there, they must present proof of permission. One student, Kara, steps forward, states her name, and shows that she has been granted access, allowing her to enter. With that, the announcement of the cadets begins. Everyone fully expects the chosen names to be the usual fan favorites. But when the curtain drops, it is revealed that Elise and Melida have been selected instead. The hall erupts in disbelief, with many students immediately assuming there must be some kind of mistake. Elise and Melida are called up onto the stage and instructed to each choose 2 schoolmates who will fight alongside them. Melida hesitates, unsure of who to pick, when Nerva suddenly raises her hand and volunteers. Krista follows shortly after and offers as well. With the teams decided, the headmistress taps her staff against the floor, officially marking the start of the tournament. After the gathering ends, rumors spread rapidly. Most students refuse to believe that Melida earned her position as a cadet fairly, assuming instead that she cheated or somehow switched her name into the selection. Hearing all of this causes Melida to start doubting herself. However, Kyufa steps in, pulls her into a firm hug, and reassures her that she has nothing to worry about and that she is going to do just fine. Training begins for Melida and the others, but it quickly becomes apparent that Melida has lost her confidence. She is now struggling badly and can even be beaten by Nerva during practice. Krista assumes Melida is simply exhausted and suggests they take a break. While Melida is resting, a mysterious brunette girl approaches her. She coldly acknowledges Melida as the infamous incompetent, talentless girl everyone talks about. She suggests that Melida and Elise being selected as cadets is likely nothing more than a scheme to determine which of the Angel sisters is truly competent. The girl points out Melida's timidity, warning her that it will undoubtedly be her downfall. If Melida wants to come out on top, she must prove her power. After saying this, the mysterious girl suddenly disappears. Later on, Kyufa spots the head maid quietly sneaking out of the palace late at night. He confronts her and asks if she's trying to destroy evidence. She immediately denies knowing anything, but when Kyufa pulls out a shard hidden beneath her dress, she can no longer deny the truth. The girls suddenly arrive at the scene, cutting the tension short. Cornered, the head maid, Mrs. Othello, finally admits the truth. She confesses that she was the one who switched the names during the cadet selection. Her reason is blunt and unapologetic. She wants everyone to see, once and for all, which of the two is the superior superior angel sister. She says she cannot stand watching Melida place herself on equal footing with Elise and believes that this contest is the perfect way to clearly define that difference. Hearing this, Melida steps forward without hesitation. Unlike before, her voice carries confidence. She tells Mrs. Othello that she does not need to worry about a thing, because Melida fully intends to prove herself through her own strength. Mrs. Othello is caught off guard by Melida's resolve, while the others quietly take notice of the change in her demeanor. Later that night, Cufa visits Melida's room to praise her for standing up to Mrs. Othello earlier. He tells her that the confidence she showed was genuine and that it suits her far better than self-doubt. After offering a few final words of encouragement, he leaves her room. As he walks down the corridor, something on the floor catches his eye, a paper plane folded from black paper. He immediately recognizes it as an emissary of the White Knight. Cufa heads deep into the forest, following the signal, where he comes face to face with Black Media. She does not speak normally, instead communicating through cards that ignite and burn themselves into glowing letters. When Cufa asks her why she is here, Black Media explains that she has been sent to conduct further investigations. According to her, the higher-ups, including Cufa's boss, believe that the report he submitted about Melida was false. She finds it far too coincidental that Melida's mana awakened precisely when Cufa arrived and suspects that he played a direct role in it. Cufa denies the accusation outright, but Black Media is unconvinced. She suggests taking a sample of Melida's blood to confirm that Cufa did not give her any of his own. At that point, Cufa's demeanor changes completely. He becomes aggressive and launches an attack. Black Media effortlessly dodges each strike and assumes that this is Cufa finally revealing his true colors. The two of them square off, both preparing for a serious battle. At the same time, Elise goes to Melida's room and makes a shocking proposal. She offers to deliberately lose the trial. Her reasoning is that if she does so, Mrs. Othello will have no choice but to acknowledge Melida. She believes that sacrificing her own victory is the fastest way for the two of them to move forward together. Back in the forest, the clash between Cufa and Black Media escalates, but Rose suddenly appears and joins the fight. As she exchanges blows with Black Media, Rose carefully observes her movements and quickly realizes that her fighting style is unlike anything she has ever encountered. Before arriving, Rose had already alerted the academy director and requested that guards be dispatched to the area, and they are now closing in. Sensing the approaching danger, Black Media decides it is not worth the risk. She withdraws immediately and vanishes without a trace. After her disappearance, Cufa warns the others not to underestimate her. He explains that Black Media is capable of imitating all 7 warrior classes, a trait that makes her the strongest clown class in all of Flandor. Meanwhile, Elise finishes speaking with Melida and bluntly tells her that she does not believe Melida has any chance of defeating her in a direct battle. That is precisely why she intends to lose the trial on purpose. By doing so, she believes they will be able to remain together and form a unit, no matter the outcome. That night, a meeting is held to discuss what they are going to do about Black Media. The headmistress explains that despite everything that has happened, the selection tournament will not be postponed or cancelled and will continue as planned. Cufa strongly disagrees and warns them that leaving the situation as it is would be extremely dangerous. Black Media possesses an absurdly high skill set, which means there is a very real chance that she has already infiltrated the school and is currently disguised as a student. Even after hearing this, the headmistress calmly states that she has already made up her mind and refuses to change the plan. The next day during lunch, Rose notices that Elise and Melida are no longer as close as they used to be and asks if they had some kind of misunderstanding. Before either of them can answer, Mrs. Othello butts in and coldly says that Elise is such a prodigy that she should not even be mentioned in the same sentence as Melida. She even calls it a miracle that the two of them are no longer on speaking terms, clearly enjoying the tension. Seeing how miserable Melida looks, Nerva and Krista decide to sit with her instead. Over the next 2 days, they keep joining her at lunch, joking around and keeping her company. Elise notices this from afar and starts to feel a little jealous, thinking that Melida has already moved on and found new friends. Later that night, Cufa goes to Melida's room to bring her some hot chocolate, but he immediately notices that she seems upset. Melida explains what happened with Elise earlier and reveals that Elise offered to throw the match during the tournament because she believes she will never be able to defeat her. Cufa is genuinely surprised that Elise would ever suggest something like that. Even so, he reassures Melida that as long as the two of them truly care about each other, their bond will never completely fall apart. The day of the tournament finally arrives, but Kyufa cannot relax at all. He is convinced that Black Media has disguised herself among the students, so he stays on high alert the entire time. The headmistress announces the rules of the tournament. Whichever team captures the most medals will be declared the winner. Shortly after, the cadets and their teammates enter the arena. Melida and her group stick together carefully until they are suddenly ambushed by Elise's team, though they manage to dodge the attack in time. Elise slowly steps forward, and Melida realizes that this is the moment she has been waiting for. The two prepare to face each other head-on. Meanwhile, Kyufa spots the mysterious girl Melida met in the woods earlier and suspects that she might be Black Media in disguise. He confronts her by launching a sword attack, but she blocks it instantly using a high-level class technique. Kyufa immediately realizes this cannot be Media, since Media only imitates low-level classes. The girl introduces herself as Mule, the daughter of a Knight Duke. Realizing his mistake, Kyufa quickly apologizes and leaves to search for the real Media. Back in the arena, things between Elise and Melida start to heat up. Elise tells Melida that she has always been stronger than her and has always viewed her as weak. She admits that she felt this way for a long time, but held back to avoid hurting Melida's feelings. Elise explains that she never wanted to be in the spotlight or be number one and would have preferred Melida to surpass her instead. However, she is now furious that this cannot happen because, in her eyes, Melida is still a weakling. She raises her sword, ready to deliver the final blow. At that moment, Melida suddenly locks in. She blocks Elise's attack and then proceeds to overwhelm her, beating Elise even while Elise is fighting at full capacity. Elise is completely caught off guard. Melida breaks down into tears and tells Elise not to worry because from now on, she promises she will always stay one step ahead of her in strength. Just then, Nerva appears out of nowhere, but Melida immediately senses something wrong. Nerva is not producing her usual mana, which confirms Melida's suspicion that this is not the real Nerva. It turns out that this is actually Black Media, who shapeshifted into Nerva after knocking the real one out elsewhere. Melida tries to escape with Elise, but Media quickly catches up. Melida puts herself in front of Elise, determined to protect her like a big sister, but Media easily overpowers her. Thankfully, Kyufa and Rose arrive just in time. Kyufa defeats Media with ease, forcing her to revert to her base form. Afterward, he hands her a letter and tells her to give it to her father. It is a supplementary report of his mission, and he believes it will be enough to satisfy him for now. Soon after, the results of the tournament are announced. After judging everyone's performances, Kara is declared the winner of the selection. With that, the festival officially comes to an end. However, one question continues to bother Kyufa. Mrs. Othello is not a mana user, which means she should not have been able to enter the palace on her own. This makes him wonder who actually guided her in swapping the glasses that allowed Elise and Melida to become cadets in the first place. Later on, Salacha is talking with Mule about how exciting the results of the selection were when she notices Mule carrying a strange pouch. Curious, she asks what it is. Mule explains that it is a mana analyzer, a device that contains records of all the mana data of every student registered in the Glassman Palace, including Melida. After a few moments, Elise and Melida are seen hugging each other after Elise finally agrees to join the unit that Melida plans to create, signaling a fresh start for the two of them. Later that evening, Kyufa is just about to go to bed when Rose suddenly knocks on his door and lets herself in, saying she has some important news she needs to tell him. At the same time, Melida and her friends are seen sneaking through the academy grounds, clearly heading towards some unknown location they were mysteriously invited to. After walking for a while, they finally arrive at the venue and discover that it is some kind of tea party being held for all the guests of the tournament. Once everyone settles in, Kara steps forward and announces that this is an unofficial closing party for the tournament, so everyone should relax, have fun, and enjoy themselves. Drinks are poured into their glasses, and at first everyone assumes it is alcohol, but they quickly realize it is actually just juice. Melida is surprised, since she had no idea that unofficial parties like this even existed in the first place. Elise, on the other hand, loves surprises, so she is enjoying every second of it. Not long after, Kara walks up and joins their table, sitting herself right between Elise and Melida. She tells them that she knows she did not truly win the title purely on her own merit, which is why she cannot fully accept it as a proper victory. After saying that, she casually gets up and walks off leave to enjoy the rest of the party. Melida and her friends continue to enjoy themselves, chatting and laughing together. After a few hours pass, they all gather in one spot, and Mule suggests that they talk about their love lives. However, that topic gets boring very quickly since none of them have ever had a real boyfriend before. Eventually, they decide to pass the time by telling each other scary stories. The story that gets told is about a newlywed couple who moved into their town hoping to live a simple and peaceful life. Over time, the husband grew frustrated by the pressure of being unable to find a good job. One night, in a moment of madness, he slashed his wife with a knife and carved her heart out. After finally coming to his senses, he abandoned her body and ran away, strangely holding her heart in his hands. Not long after, he realized the weight of what he had done and could not live with himself anymore, so he threw himself into the river. The story leaves everyone completely terrified. Things get even worse when the lights suddenly go out and a witch appears out of nowhere. The witch heads straight toward Melida, but Melida quickly uses a blanket to create a distraction, allowing her and her friends to run away. After running for a while, they notice that the witch is no longer chasing them, and the surroundings have gone eerily quiet. They wonder whether the other classmates managed to escape safely. Even so, they decide that their own safety comes first and head toward their dorms. On the way there, Melida suddenly steps in some gooey pink substance that feels disturbingly like human flesh. This causes all of them to freak out, and they start running as fast as they possibly can. After sprinting for a while, they run straight into the witch again, whom they now identify as the Grey Witch. Salacha tries to be brave and play the hero by attacking the witch, but she ends up getting flung into a pillar instead. Melida steps forward and attempts to use her phantom slash, but the witch blocks it instantly. Realizing they stand no chance, the girls take that as their cue to run again, sprinting through a passage as they desperately hope it leads to the end of the tunnel. The witch continues to chase them and seems to be closing the distance. Eventually, the girls burst outside, but the witch does not follow them out. They assume that the witch might not be allowed to leave the building. Just then, Kufa suddenly walks up to them, and Melida feels relieved, convinced that they are finally safe. However, something immediately feels wrong. As Kufa steps forward, it appears as if his heart has been ripped out, causing the girls to scream in sheer terror. Moments later, it is revealed that this was all just a twisted prank meant to punish the girls for holding an unofficial party without permission. Rose was the one who snitched on them and even suggested setting up the entire scheme. She was also the one who played the Grey Witch and clearly had a lot of fun terrifying the students. Kufa apologizes to the girls for scaring them so badly, and after things finally calm down, everyone heads off to bed. That night, Kufa stays with Melida for a while longer, reading her a bedtime story before the day finally comes to an end. That night, Melida dreams of a burning house engulfed in roaring flames. Inside the chaos, a young boy desperately struggles to reach his little sister, who is trapped and on the verge of death. His screams are swallowed by the fire as he stretches his hand toward her, powerless to save her. Just as the flames close in, the dream abruptly shatters when Kufa wakes Melida up and tells her that today is the academy training trip, so she needs to pack her bags and prepare immediately. Still half asleep, Melida snaps back at him, telling him not to treat her like a child since she already packed everything in advance. Soon after, they head out toward the departure point. Along the way, a slick-looking stranger casually brushes past Kufa and discreetly slips something into his hand. The man quietly explains that it is a drug meant for only one person and warns Kufa to use it wisely before disappearing into the crowd. After walking a little further, Rose suddenly appears out of nowhere and tells Kufa that she has a favor to ask him. She looks visibly embarrassed, hesitates for a moment, then blurts out the question and asks Kufa to marry her. Melida nearly has a heart attack when she hears this. She has always secretly had feelings for Kufa, but has been far too shy to ever admit them. Rose quickly explains that her father has arranged a marriage for her with an extremely unpleasant-looking man. As a way to escape that fate, she plans to pretend she already has a fiancé, hoping that convincing her father she is already engaged will cancel the arrangement. Kufa refuses outright at first, but after Rose persistently pressures him, he eventually gives in and reluctantly agrees. Once Kufa accepts, Rose becomes far too enthusiastic. She clings to his arm everywhere they go and openly calls him darling, making no effort to hide it. Watching this unfold, Melida starts to grow increasingly jealous. Not long after, Rose's father, the Marquis, arrives in grand fashion and formally introduces himself to everyone. As they head inside, inside, Melida quietly asks Rose why her father is even here in the first place. Rose explains that the training trip is being held in Shangarda, which happens to be both her hometown and the Marquis's territory, making his presence unavoidable. Kufa gives Melida a brief explanation about the Marquis, describing him as an extraordinary man and a renowned genius in the field of genetic engineering, someone widely respected and admired. Suddenly, the Marquis turns around and announces that the real reason for his visit is to declare that Rose's wedding will be held this weekend. Rose immediately rejects the idea, grabbing onto Kufa's arm and declaring that she is already in love with him, making it impossible for her to marry anyone else. The Marquis studies Kufa closely, then suddenly recoils, visibly shaken. He explains that Kufa bears an uncanny resemblance to someone he once knew who died 6 or 7 years ago. Back then, there was a horrific mass murder, and the mastermind behind it was a 12-year-old boy. According to the Marquis, he can see that same boy reflected in Kufa. An uncomfortable silence settles over the group, but the headmistress quickly steps in and suggests they move on to the assembly to ease the tension. As everyone proceeds, Kufa claims he is not feeling well and decides to return to his room. Melida wonders if the Marquis's words affected him, but Kufa brushes off her concern, telling her not to worry before walking away. During the assembly, Melida cannot stop thinking about Kufa. It is obvious to her that what the Marquis said deeply unsettled him. After struggling with her thoughts for a while, she decides to go after him. On her way, she runs into Instructor Lacqua. At that moment, Melida suddenly hears a strange voice echoing inside her head, one she has never heard before. Before she can react, a loud scream erupts from the assembly hall. When they rush back, they find one of the girls collapsed on the floor, unconscious. The Marquis declares that he will uncover the culprit and demonstrates his magical ability by using a potion that reveals the mana of whoever is responsible. The result shows that the attacker has blue-colored mana and is male. Since Kufa is the only male present, all eyes immediately turn to him, and he is quickly assumed to be guilty. Afterward, everyone boards a train bound for Shangarda. Melida feels deeply troubled by how easily Kufa was accused. Upon arriving in Shangarda, Melida goes to explore the town, but something feels unsettling. That strange voice echoes in her head once again. Kufa soon finds her, apologizing for leaving so abruptly earlier and assuring her that he is fine. Suddenly, the Marquis approaches them to give an update on the situation, but he is interrupted when a man named Dick urgently calls for his attention. Dick is the very man the Marquis arranged for Rose to marry. They rush to the town square, where they find a man infected with a terrifying virus that strips away his humanity and slowly transforms him into a beast. The man is already beyond saving, and the Marquis orders the knights to put him out of his misery. They carry out the execution, leaving the onlookers in stunned silence. The headmistress scolds the Marquis for conducting such a public execution, but he calmly explains that it was an act of mercy rather than cruelty. The disease is spreading rapidly throughout Shangarda, turning its victims into monsters driven to slaughter humans. Hearing this, Melida begins to realize just how unnatural and dangerous this town truly is. Later that evening, Kufa visits Melida's room. She is clearly upset about him pretending to be Rose's fiancé, and her frustration shows. To make it up to her, Kufa takes her out on a date to a beautiful limestone cave that sparkles brilliantly. The cave's walls are strongly magnetized, creating a sensation of weightlessness that allows them to float through the air while holding hands in a romantic moment. After some time, Melida wonders how Kufa knew about such a place when they only just arrived. He explains that he once visited this town during a past mission. After their date, they return to the dorms. Kufa gently tucks Melida into bed, then, in a strangely intimate moment, stays behind and quietly watches her sleep. The next morning, chaos erupts as everyone rushes toward the chapel. Several students are found lying motionless on the ground, their clothes soaked with blood, their vitality completely drained as if something had sucked the life out of them. The scene is horrifying, and whispers quickly spread that this could only have been done by a vampire. Furious and alarmed, the Marquis immediately demands to know where Kufa is. Melida tells him that she has not seen Kufa since she woke up that morning and has been unable to find him anywhere. That alone is enough for the Marquis to openly consider Kufa the prime suspect. Despite the tension and fear, the students are still ordered to continue their studies that afternoon. As the group moves through town, Melida quietly slips away, determined to prove Kufa's innocence no matter what it takes. Before she can get far, she runs into Instructor Lack. Lack tells Melida that she knows knows exactly what she is trying to do and admits that she does not believe Kyufa is guilty either. She reveals that Kyufa once spoke to her about something called mystery spots, explaining that in recent years there has been an unnatural increase in the number of these strange locations around Shangarda. He also told Lack that if anything were ever to happen to him, she should look after Melida. Because of this, Lack suggests they investigate the mystery spots together and start asking questions around town. Once they head into town, Melida approaches several townspeople and greets them politely. At first, they smile warmly at her, but the moment she mentions the mystery spots, their expressions darken, and they angrily tell her to leave. Seeing this, Lack decides to show Melida how to extract information more subtly. She approaches a flower vendor and casually strikes up a conversation, skillfully steering it in a way that causes the woman to unknowingly reveal information about one of the mystery spots. After gathering enough clues, Lack and Melida make their way to a cave where one of the mystery spots is said to be located, a place known as the Crooked House. Inside, Lack quickly realizes that the structure is not a natural mystery spot and did not become crooked over time. While examining the area, she discovers a hidden underground cellar. Curious and uneasy, they descend together, with Lack using her magic to light the way. As they go deeper, Lack notes that this cellar is deliberately concealed and unlike any ordinary one. There are no lamps along the walls, likely to discourage anyone from venturing further inside. When they finally reach the bottom, they are met with a chilling sight: several prison cells. Inside one of them lie multiple corpses, their bodies shriveled as if their life force had been drained before death. Lack examines the bodies carefully and immediately realizes that these are not ordinary corpses. They are Loud Garrus, humans affected by the Night Gene Factor virus who failed to fully transform. Melida notices a bracelet on one of the bodies and recognizes it as identical to the one worn by the man executed earlier in the town square. This leads them to a horrifying realization. The Marquis lied about that man being infected with a disease. Instead, he and his associates have been conducting grotesque experiments on these people. Suddenly, Melida hears those same strange voices again. She remembers that the last time she heard them, an attack on the students followed shortly after. Panicking, she bolts out of the cave, desperate to stop whatever is about to happen. When she reaches the chapel, she sees a crowd gathered outside and immediately knows she is too late. Inside, she finds Elise lying on the floor, blood scattered around her. At first, Melida believes her sister is dead, but after checking her, she realizes Elise is still breathing and uninjured. However, Rose was not so fortunate. Rose has been brutally killed. The signs show that she fought back desperately, but her struggle was not enough to save her life. The Marquis collapses into loud mourning upon seeing his daughter's lifeless body, while everyone else stands frozen in disbelief. Melida is overwhelmed, unable to accept that someone she was talking to just hours earlier is now dead. The Marquis lifts Rose's corpse in his arms and declares that he will attempt to resurrect her using his magic as a sage. With Kyufa still missing, suspicion falls entirely on him, and nearly everyone assumes he is responsible for everything that has happened. Later that day, Melida settles Elise into bed and is consumed by guilt. She blames herself, believing that as Elise's big sister, she should have been there to protect her. Suddenly, Krista bursts into the room and urgently tells Melida that the Marquis was attacked by the same blue mana user who escaped with Rose's corpse. Krista hurriedly locks the door, explaining that an angry mob is forming outside. They believe Kyufa is behind everything and want to take Melida hostage to lure him out. Krista signals for Melida to escape, and without hesitation, Melida jumps out the window and sets off to find Kyufa, determined to clear his name and uncover the truth. She eventually reaches a part of the forest that the Marquis once warned her about, calling it a mystery spot and strongly insisting she stay away. She remembers how fixated he was on keeping people away from a particular boulder. Summoning her mana, Melida destroys the boulder and reveals a hidden hole leading into a cave. Deep inside, she discovers documents bearing the Marquis's signature and detailed books describing the exact procedures used in the horrific experiments on the victims. As she stands there in shock, the strange voice returns, this time clear and persistent. It asks Melida who she is. When she answers that she is a paladin, the voice laughs and says she will make an excellent test subject for the next experiment. Suddenly, Rose steps out of the shadows. Melida is stunned to see her alive, but something is clearly wrong. Rose's eyes are a different color, and sharp vampire fangs protrude from her mouth. As Rose slowly approaches, Melida notices a powerful powerful blue mana aura surrounding her and begins to suspect that Rose may have been responsible for everything. The truth soon becomes clear. Rose is not acting of her own will. She is being controlled by the very voice Melida has been hearing. Rose lunges at Melida, but Kufa appears at the last second and saves her. He shouts at Rose, begging her to snap out of it, but she fiercely resists. Kufa then releases his vampire mana, revealing his long white hair, and commands Rose one final time to regain control. After struggling for a moment, Rose leaps back and flees into the darkness. The voice mocks Kufa, telling him that trying to free Rose is pointless and that it will never work. This is the first time Melida has ever seen Kufa in this form, and the sight terrifies her to her core. Kufa steps closer to Melida and gently pins her to the ground, his expression filled with pain. He tells her that in his entire life, no one has ever truly accepted his vampire form. Seeing fear reflected in her eyes breaks his heart more than anything else ever has. He tells her that he is going to cast a spell that will erase all memories she has of him, making it so that, from her perspective, they have only just met. Before he can do anything, Melida suddenly sits up. She tells Kufa that no matter how he looks or what he truly is, she will always admire and love him. To prove it, she leans forward and kisses him on the lips. Kufa is completely stunned and asks her what she thinks she is doing. Melida calmly reminds him that he was the one who pinned her to the ground in the first place. After a long silence, Kufa finally decides to tell her the truth. He reveals that he is actually half human and half lycanthrope. Years ago, when Kufa was still a child, his hometown was attacked. However, he did not die from the attack itself. Instead, he was killed as a result of experiments conducted by the Marquis. As little Kufa lay dying on the floor, the Marquis was overwhelmed with guilt and swore to never conduct another experiment again. That promise did not last long. A massive insect like lycanthrope that the Marquis had been working with mocked his hesitation and told him not to give up so easily. It pointed out that Kufa was one of the few successful test subjects who was still alive. At that moment, Kufa suddenly awakened, his body surrounded by blue mana. Kufa then reveals something even more shocking. He and Rose had known each other since they were children. They were siblings. Rose was also subjected to the same experiments, but unlike Kufa, she did not survive them. Desperate to save her, Kufa rushed to her side and bit her neck, turning her into a vampire so that she could live. The lycanthrope warned him that doing so would curse her with an uncontrollable thirst for blood, but Kufa ignored the warning and went through with it anyway. Not long after, soldiers arrived to eliminate the monster, but every single one of them was slaughtered. Only their commander survived, and even then, he was gravely injured. Just as the commander was about to give up on life, Kufa appeared out of nowhere and stabbed the lycanthrope in the eye, blinding it. That single opening gave the commander enough time to slide beneath the monster and fire his ray gun, blasting it apart and killing it. When the battle ended, Kufa returned to Rose's side and erased all of her memories of him. By doing so, she would not remember being a vampire, nor would she remember the taste of blood. The commander approached Kufa afterward, but Kufa fell to his knees and begged him to spare Rose. In exchange, he pledged his absolute loyalty and agreed to serve him for the rest of his life. The commander accepted, but only on one condition. Rose must never regain her memories of who Kufa is or what he did for her. Kufa agreed without hesitation. All he ever wanted was for her to live a happy life. The story then shifts back to the present. Kufa holds Melida close, gently cuddling her, and asks her to never speak of what he has just told her. If the world ever found out about a half-human, half-lycanthrope like him, he would almost certainly be executed. Melida swears that she will keep his secret no matter what. Kufa then explains that the voice Melida has been hearing all this time is not her imagination. It belongs to the same lycanthrope he fought as a child. Its name is Nakwa. Nakwa is the true mastermind behind the terror spreading throughout the city. He has allied himself with the Marquis to create an army of enhanced soldiers like Kufa. That is also likely why the Marquis arranged a marriage for Rose in the first place, to ensure the birth of more children who could be used as experimental subjects. With that decision made, Melida and Kufa resolve to work together to save the town. The very next day, everyone gathers inside the chapel for Rose's wedding to a man no one really knows. Marquis himself is officiating the ceremony. The crowd is already unsettled, shocked that Marquis somehow managed to resurrect Rose after she had clearly been killed. Even so, many people can sense that something about her feels wrong. Just as Rose and her fiancé are about to be pronounced husband and wife, the chapel door doors burst open. Melida storms inside and loudly demands that the wedding be stopped. She deliberately provokes Rose, claiming that while Rose was gone, she and Kyufa kissed several times. Rose had always harbored feelings for Kyufa, even if she never admitted them, and hearing that pushes her over the edge. Enraged, she summons her mana and prepares to fight. Melida intentionally fires a weak flame attack. Rose dodges it with ease, but the flames veer off and strike Marquis instead. The fire burns away the bug-like enchantment covering his body, revealing his true lycanthrope form. Realizing there is no point hiding anymore, Marquis laughs and introduces himself to everyone as Nakwa. Melida immediately exposes him, shouting that Nakwa is the one responsible for all the recent attacks and atrocities in the city. The instructors rush in to subdue him, but Nakwa effortlessly smacks them aside and escapes the chapel. Rose chases after him. As she runs, fragments of her memories begin to return, flashes of all the horrific things Nakwa forced her to do. Realizing she now remembers too much, Nakwa turns on her and begins choking her, fully intending to kill her. Before he can finish her off, Kyufa appears and launches a surprise attack. He calls out to Rose and awakens her true power. Her hair turns white as her mana surges, and Kyufa tells her that they will fight together and bring Nakwa down. Nakwa refuses to fall without a fight and assumes his final form. A fierce battle erupts, with Kyufa and Rose clashing against him, the fight appearing evenly matched for a time. The tide finally turns when Rose unleashes her power, launching Nakwa high into the air and trapping him there. That opening gives Kyufa the chance he needs. He strikes with a decisive blow, defeating Nakwa in an instant. However, Nakwa reveals his final trick, breaking his body apart and reverting to his pure form as he flees downward. What he does not anticipate is the group of students waiting below. Working together, they channel their magic and successfully exorcise him once and for all. With Nakwa finally gone, Rose approaches Kyufa with tears in her eyes and tells him that she remembers everything now. She remembers him as her big brother. Before she can say anything more, Kyufa gently taps her neck, paralyzing her and causing her to fall to her knees. He places his hand on her forehead and quietly says that he is going to erase her memories of him again. Rose begs him to stop, pleading that she wants to remember her brother, but Kyufa insists that this is the only way for her to live a peaceful life. Later that night, Kyufa finds Marquis deep underground, mourning beside the preserved body of his wife, which he had wrapped in a web to prevent decay. Kyufa notices that her body had already begun transforming into a lycanthrope, but the process was halted using Nakwa's power. He finally understands the truth. Preserving his wife's body was the bargain Marquis made with Nakwa, and everything else was the price. Kyufa then reveals the final truth. Marquis is his real father. As a final act, Kyufa hands Marquis a drug capable of reversing the effects of half-lycanthrope transformation. He gives it to his wife, Carmilla. Moments later, she awakens, fully restored to life. Marquis breaks down in disbelief and joy, embracing her tightly. Kyufa quietly turns away. Without another word, he walks off, bidding his father a final farewell as he disappears into the night. Over the next few weeks, Kyufa quietly watches Melida from a distance and notices just how much she has grown since the last incident. Her movements are sharper, her confidence steadier, and her control over mana far more refined. Seeing this fills him with pride. Still, Kyufa knows that success always attracts resentment, and there will always be people who wish for Melida's downfall. During a public assembly, the headmistress announces an upcoming event, the Vibria Goat Librarian Certification Exam. Melida tilts her head in confusion at the name, so Kyufa steps in to explain. Vibria is the general name given to a massive labyrinth located at the center of Flandor. At its heart lies an ancient library filled with old records, forbidden texts, and highly confidential documents. Rose chimes in, explaining that the certification exam is notoriously brutal and difficult, but reassures them that it is only meant for second-year students. Since Melida and Elise are still first years, it should have nothing to do with them. That sense of relief doesn't last long. The headmistress suddenly calls out to Melida and Elise directly and asks whether they would like to participate in this year's certification exam. Kyufa immediately objects, arguing that it's far too dangerous and completely inappropriate for first-year students. The headmistress dismisses his concern, claiming that this will be the perfect opportunity to prove the girl's strength. Later that night, however, it becomes clear that this justification was a lie. A secret meeting is held between members of the Academy Board. They openly discuss how Melida's cadet position during the Luna Lumiere selection tournament had been manipulated solely to observe her mana. After analyzing the results, they discovered that Melida's mana composition and attack class differ drastically from Elise's. The room falls into stunned silence as whispers begin circulating about old rumors, specifically that Melida's mother may have been involved in an affair. After a lengthy discussion, the board agrees that Melida's secret must be exposed publicly. The problem lies in how to do it in a way that convinces the entire city. Mule proposes using one of the living record texts stored within the Vibria library, a tome that automatically documents events as they unfold. If Melida fails or embarrasses herself during the exam, the text will record it, leaving her no way to hide her supposed fraud. The next day at school, chaos breaks out when a strange masked man suddenly appears, loudly shouting that he is searching for his long-lost daughter. He scans the crowd, then locks eyes with Melida and starts approaching her. Kufa instantly steps in front of her, drawing his sword defensively. The masked man responds by performing several exaggerated and completely unnecessary backflips before laughing and declaring that they will meet again very soon. With that, he vanishes. Later that afternoon, while Kufa is checking on Melida, she admits that the encounter left her deeply unsettled. There is no possible way that man could be her father. There is no record, no resemblance, no connection at all. Kufa agrees and concludes that someone is deliberately trying to tarnish the reputation of the House of Angel. When Melida asks what she can do to help, Kufa gives her a challenge. She will take part in the Vibria Library certification exam. Melida hesitates, remembering how dangerous it is said to be, but Kufa reassures her. This isn't about winning or losing, it's about showing her resolve. With that decision made, Melida teams up with Elise and the others and heads underground to begin the exam. Before they descend, the headmistress hands each of them an hourglass and explains the rules. They must enter the library, retrieve specific documents, and return before the sand runs out. The library is infested with ghosts, and the deeper they go, the more dangerous those spirits become. Suddenly, the platform beneath them begins to shake violently. Thick tentacles burst out from below, wrapping around the structure. The platform shatters, and the group is sent plunging downward. Above ground, Kufa and Rose are completely unaware of what just happened. A maid approaches and asks for the headmistress, but Kufa explains that she is currently overseeing the certification exam. The maid hesitates, then mentions that a guest has arrived and asks if Kufa would attend to him in the headmistress's absence. The guest turns out to be Felis Angel, Melida's father. Kufa briefs him on the current situation, and Felis is visibly shocked to hear that Melida, a first-year student, is participating in the certification exam. He states bluntly that he has come to withdraw Melida from the academy, claiming that things have grown too dangerous and that she isn't producing the results he expects. Speaking as her tutor, Kufa firmly defends Melida. He insists that her growth has been extraordinary and asks Felis to give her a little more time to prove herself. Kufa's confidence in her ability is unwavering. Before Felis can respond, the maid bursts back into the room with a letter from the library. It signals an emergency. Something has gone terribly wrong, and the students are in danger. Meanwhile, Melida and Elise land on a random floor inside the library. They quickly realize the exam has already begun as sand steadily drains from their hourglasses. Without wasting time, they press forward. Soon, two ghosts appear and attack. Elise holds her own as expected, but Melida moves differently this time. Her footwork is precise, her timing sharp. Every lesson Kufa drilled into her is finally clicking, and for the first time, she's genuinely enjoying the fight. They defeat the ghosts, but their relief is short-lived. A massive swarm of spirits surrounds them, far too many to handle at once. Bracing themselves for the worst, they prepare to make a final stand, until a powerful gust of wind tears through the floor, obliterating the ghosts in an instant. Emerging from the clearing air are Mule and Salacha, arriving just in time to save them. Meanwhile, Kufa prepares to head down into the library himself. Before leaving, he entrusts Rose with handling matters on the upper floors in case anything else goes wrong. He reminds her to stay alert and protect the students at all costs, then turns and disappears down the stairway leading into the depths of the academy. Back inside the library, Elise and Melida regroup after being saved by Salacha and Mule. After a brief discussion, the four of them agree that the smartest option is to work together and complete the certification exam as a single team. Mule activates her magic and checks the layout of the labyrinth, quickly realizing that they are currently on the 5th layer, while the exam's objective room is located on the 2nd layer. With that in mind, they begin making their way upward. Along the way, Mule suggests that Melida a try using one of the magic spellbooks scattered throughout the library. Since Melida is still a beginner, there's no telling what kind of effect it might have, or whether it will even work properly. Despite the risk, Mule and Salacha both encourage her to give it a try. After some hesitation, Melida takes the spellbook into her hands and begins reciting the incantation written inside. The spell activates immediately, and in a flash of light, the group is completely transformed. Melida finds herself dressed like Cinderella, complete with a sparkling blue gown. Mule takes on the role of a genie, complete with magical flair and the ability to grant 3 wishes at a time. Salacha, on the other hand, transforms into a mermaid and immediately collapses onto the floor, unable to stand. As she wiggles helplessly, the girls notice the exaggerated movement of her chest and, without thinking, reach out to check for themselves. Before things can get any more ridiculous, the spell abruptly wears off, and they all revert back to their normal appearances. The sudden change snaps them back to reality and reminds them that the certification exam itself also has a strict time limit. Panicking slightly, they hurry toward the room where the exam is meant to take place. Once inside, they interact with a large book resting on an altar. The book explains the task. All they have to do is collect the scattered books lying across the floor and return them to their proper places on the shelves. At first, it sounds simple enough. That illusion is shattered almost immediately when they learn that each book is guarded by a small demon known as a boar imp. To place a book on the shelf, the boar imp protecting it must first be defeated. The first boar imp emerges from a nearby book, screeching aggressively. Melida steps forward without hesitation and defeats it in a single clean slash. With the demon gone, the others grab the book and attempt to place it on the shelf, only to find that it refuses to stay put. After observing the shelf more closely, Mule realizes there must be a hidden rule at play. Each book clearly belongs in a specific position. Taking charge, Mule begins deciphering the correct arrangement of the shelves while Melida continues fighting off boar imps as they appear. Elise and Salacha support wherever they can, keeping the area secure. After a steady stretch of intense coordination, they finally manage to place every book in its proper place. With the task complete, they celebrate their success, relieved and proud of what they've accomplished together. Suddenly, one of the books on the shelf begins to glow. Assuming this must be proof that they've passed the exam, they rush toward it. Mule compliments Melida on her combat ability, remarking that it's impressive for a first-year student. She then asks why Melida would go through something this dangerous when she isn't even required to take the exam yet. Melida explains that she's doing it partly because it was an assignment given to her by her instructor, and partly because she wants to prove her worth as a member of the House of Angel. Mule's expression darkens instantly. She tells Melida that even accomplishing something like this doesn't guarantee that she is truly a child of Angel. Melida is confused by the statement and doesn't understand what Mule means. Elise immediately steps in front of her, positioning herself protectively. At the same time, Salacha suddenly snatches the glowing proof of passing from Melida's hands. Before Salacha can react, Mule pins her against the wall and demands that she give it back to Melida immediately. Unable to keep lying any longer, Salacha breaks down and admits the truth. She confesses that the entire certification exam was never meant to be fair. It was a trap from the very beginning. Elsewhere in the library, the situation is just as dire. Other students are struggling against waves of undead monsters that refuse to fall easily. The headmistress and one of the senior students do everything they can to protect the group. But in the chaos, the headmistress is stabbed in the back by one of the undead. She collapses, gravely wounded and bleeding heavily. Just as things are about to turn fatal, Kufa arrives with perfect timing. In a blur of motion, he wipes out the entire squad of undead surrounding them. Even so, the headmistress's condition is critical. She is losing blood rapidly, and there's no clear way to save her. To make matters worse, the undead king suddenly appears, declaring that he has come to annihilate everyone present. Kufa launches multiple attacks, but they pass straight through the undead king's body. As a being without a true mortal form, it cannot be harmed by conventional means. Realizing this, Kufa covers one eye and summons Williams, the bandage-covered man from earlier. Williams uses his bandages to bind the undead king, restraining its form and eventually exorcising it completely. Kufa thanks Williams sincerely, admitting that he never truly expected him to answer the call. Back in the exam chamber, Salacha's confession continues. Mule snatches the book once more and uses it to confirm Melida's class. The results show that Melida is a samurai, not a paladin as she is supposed to be. With that confirmation, Mule turns and flees, declaring that she's going to report everything to her elder brother, Serge. It's later revealed that the Grimface Guild had infiltrated the academy, but the instructors and students stationed on the upper floors were more than capable of handling them. Down in the library, Kufa's boss arrives and offers to recruit Williams into his guild, impressed by his performance in battle. He then informs Kufa that there is a major disturbance occurring on the 18th floor, and that Kufa is the only one strong enough to handle it. Without hesitation, Kufa heads deeper into the labyrinth toward the 18th floor. Meanwhile, Melida manages to catch up to Mule and pins her to the ground, demanding to know why she's doing all of this. Mule claims it's for Melida's own good. Before Melida can press further, Mule casts a spell, surrounding herself with swirling pages torn from spellbooks as the confrontation escalates. A little while later, Melida wakes up in a wide, manicured garden, standing before a group of judges wearing imposing masks. Serge, the lead judge, announces that she has been brought to the Queen of Hearts court to determine whether she has been lying about her status as a member of the Night Duke family. He declares that it has been revealed Melida is of the samurai class, not the paladin class that a proper Night Duke daughter should belong to, and therefore concludes that she is not the true daughter of the angel family. Melida immediately denies the accusation, insisting that she is a true angel daughter, but when asked how she could have gone 13 years without any mana and only recently awakened samurai class mana, she stays silent. She knows the truth that Kufa helped awaken her mana, and fears the consequences if anyone discovers it. Her silence leads the court to assume she is guilty and feels inauthentic. The judges argue over her fate, and their bickering makes Melida furious. She declares she will prove her strength and her right to be acknowledged as a daughter of the Night Duke family. Serge decides it's fair to give her a chance to prove herself. He arranges a battle between Melida and Salacha, confident in her abilities. Salacha tells Melida to give up before things get messy, but Melida refuses. The fight begins. At first, it appears that Salacha has the upper hand, but Serge notices that Melida's movements are unusually refined. She is patiently waiting for the right moment to strike. Eventually, Salacha becomes careless, and Melida seizes the opening, knocking her down and winning the battle. The judges are shocked and fear the consequences if Melida is truly a daughter of Angel. Serge quickly acts to maintain control. He taps his judge's hammer on the table, and a magical pen falls out of Salacha's pocket. Instantly, a pool of ink spreads across the floor, throwing the court into chaos. Melida quickly evacuates the other judges. Just as they finish leaving, the doors slam shut, and the masked man who previously claimed to be her father appears. He now claims to be an unadulterated evil intent on sowing chaos. Melida and her friends attack, but they are easily overpowered. As the masked man prepares a lethal strike, Kufa appears just in time to block it. He tells Melida to stay back while he handles the threat, but she refuses, insisting on fighting alongside him. Together, using all the techniques Kufa had taught her, Melida fights by his side. After a fierce battle, they defeat the masked man. They share a passionate hug, relieved by their victory. The masked man is teleported to Serge's secret room, where he begs for forgiveness. Serge, deeming him unreliable, stabs him in the gut, puncturing his liver. His mask breaks, revealing his face, filled with disbelief as he dies. Realizing he never expected this outcome, Serge acknowledges that he may have underestimated Melida and Kufa, vowing not to repeat that mistake. The next day, the Academy celebrates Melida and Elise, acknowledging their heroism. Her father, Felis, still does not immediately acknowledge her. In the following days, numerous individuals claiming to be Melida's true father appear in newspapers. The mastermind behind the incident is revealed to be Bijou, a member of the Crest Legion who doubted the state of the nation. He has since gone into hiding, and the full truth remains secret. Felis ultimately decides to leave Melida at the Academy under Kufa's care, recognizing Kufa's skill and dedication as a teacher. One day, after training, Melida gathers the courage to call out to her father as he is leaving. Felis approaches, finally acknowledging her, noting that she resembles a relative who was of the samurai class. Overcome with emotion, Melida bursts into tears, finally receiving the recognition she desired. Kufa watches, filled with pride at her growth and determination. Weeks later, Melida is running late for the opening ceremony of an event when she runs into Kufa. She tells him she wants the reward he promised her for passing the certification exam. Kufa is shocked, realizing she isn't just entrusting her life to him, she is willing to risk her life for him. In that moment, he recognizes that Melida is his soulmate, his pride as an assassin, and the person person who will always fight beside him. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.